5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Welcome to the show, people. Welcome to the show.
Eat my shorts.
So here is to conversation.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Cash Exchange Podcast.
Welcome.
For this episode, I've got celebrities, Avengers Endgame, and common decency. Can you find that through line?
Celebrities, Avengers, Endgame, and what was the last one?
Common decency.
Common decency. Things that just get worse and worse as time goes by.
Yeah, that's one way you could go.
Specifically, things that were ruined by the internet.
Things ruined by the internet. Just running down the list. Celebrities. I think that since celebrities have a more prevalent platform to state their own opinions on, their respectability level has gone into the toilet.
So this is actually a thing that I wrote a decent amount on when I was looking up stuff for this episode or trying to brainstorm. And celebrities are one of the things that I am so grateful for the internet ruining.
Yeah, because before, take your Cary Grants, your John Waynes, your Jimmy Stewarts.
Mm-hmm.
They played a part, they read a script, they performed that script, and then that was it. And then if they had something crazy going on in the background, nobody cared because nobody really knew about it because it wasn't in your face. Unless, there was obviously tabloids and stuff back then, but I think for the most part, the person day to day isn't saying, "Oh my, did you hear what Jimmy Stewart got caught doing?" Or like Rock Hudson. Rock Hudson was a huge ladies' man actor, and turns out that he was gay and he died of AIDS. But no one knew that because there wasn't the internet for him to virtue signal on about how great it is to be gay, and then talking about how great it was to have AIDS because how empowering it was for him to be afflicted with such a terrible disease that he could be a spokesperson for and make money on the side by having AIDS from people with AIDS or people that wish he didn't have AIDS. There's no GoFundMes for Rock Hudson and his AIDS.
That's not necessarily a big part of this topic or this episode, but I'm also so annoyed by crowdfunding.
Yeah, I don't
know if it's a thing that existed outside of the little change jars at restaurants and stuff before the internet, but crowdfunding is one of the things that the internet ruined.
Remember when we could trust those? Those little standees that you just put the
pennies?
little quarter in?
Yeah.
And we went to a Chinese restaurant a month ago or so, and there was a jar that was in the breezeway. So it wasn't actually where people at the host stand and stuff could see it. It was in a little breezeway, and it was a jar that was just filled with bills and coins and stuff. And I was like, there's no way they trust this to just sit here, because that's the world we live in now. That first off, you're not going to trust that money's going to go to them in the first place, to whoever's on that little picture and that little blurb's written about. They could already be dead for all we know. But I go and just nudge it a little bit, screwed to the counter.
So my first food service job, we had a tip jar that eventually it got several different homes in just the 6 months that I worked there because we couldn't screw it into the counter, and it got stolen twice on shifts that I worked. I don't know how many times it got stolen in the actual time that I was there. We didn't make more than $6-8 a day. At that point, it feels...
Is that a to-go tip jar?
It was this big pickle jar kind of thing, and it was just, no one ever tipped us. I don't think you're supposed to tip pizza making people unless they deliver your pizza to you.
Yeah. Ooh, tipping's going to be its own thing too, because I got lots to say about tipping.
So do I, and I've been tipped for 11 years now.
It's the only thing that the Europeans got right.
Okay, I wouldn't go that far.
No, so celebrities, no one cares about your opinion.
I think that that's one of the kind of good things that happened because of cancel culture eventually, because there was a lot of nonsense that we had to go through where people were getting canceled for nothing. And on the same like wavelength, people that were getting canceled for super egregious things, but they were put all on the same kind of like playing field.
Yeah.
That it was like you could do Epstein Diddy levels of evil things and you were on the same level of a guy who said something offensive about trans people. I'm not condoning saying offensive things about trans people, but I don't think that those are on the same level of like, we need to steal their careers from them. And so I think because of that, everyone is taken celebrity as this kind of like the Imagine cover by Gal Gadot.
That's the
During
first thing that
COVID?
comes to mind, yeah.
You understand your platform. You understand that you're not one of the people anymore. Stop acting like it.
I will say that was Gal Gadot's greatest role. That's the one she played best.
I liked her in Wonder Woman.
Mm.
Not 1984, because that was so bad.
Oh, so you liked her in this one role, but only half of the time that she portrayed that one role.
She was fine in Justice League. Just because I hated the Justice League movies does not mean that she didn't do a good job. Also, I think I hated Wonder Woman 1984 or whatever. Is it 1984?
Yes.
I hated that movie, but I don't know that I hated it because of her performance. I think it was just a really poorly written movie. Also, it was in the era of like...
Because she molested a stranger who had no autonomy.
Although I do love Chris Pine.
Oh, so that makes it okay.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
That was a statement about the movie.
No,
That was not a
you heard it
statement
here
about
first.
molestation.
You heard it here first. That as long as it's Chris Pine, molestation is okay. Wow. Oh my.
It's going to be a soundbite for our TikTok that's going to get me canceled immediately.
Hey, I mean, someone's got to fill the Gypsy Rose void. You don't hear those anymore.
God, I'm tired of hearing about Gypsy Rose.
And then we're about to lose out on all the Grinch ones. Some's got to be there. From
The Grinch
December
ones?
26th to January 19th when it all gets torpedoed. The
What's
Grinch
happening with the
ones.
Grinch?
No, I mean, it's just once Christmas is over, no one's going to be using the Grinch sounds anymore.
I don't see any Grinch stuff on my TikTok right now.
Well, you're not.
That's where our algorithm splits.
Yeah, you're not that big of a Christmas.
I have watched so many Christmas movies this season.
But you've never seen
We
the
started
most important
on
Christmas
Thanksgiving.
movie of all time.
I don't like the sad ones. I'm not going to watch Christmas Shoes again.
I didn't even know that was a movie. I would never watch that.
It is heartbreaking. It's got the Brad Paisley's wife in it.
Oh, Kimberly Williams?
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I don't like the song. Why would I watch the movie?
I mean, sure.
But It's a Wonderful Life is not only, this was corroborated with Matt Walsh, who said, It's a Wonderful Life is not only the best Christmas movie, it's one of the best movies of all time.
Wait, who is Matt Walsh?
Am I racist?
Oh.
What is
Okay.
a woman? What is a woman? What is it? What's his woman one?
I don't know.
What makes a woman?
I'm going to go ahead and throw out here, back on the subject of things the internet ruined, that he is currently searching for his phone so that he can Google it. And one of the big things ruined by the internet, we're not allowed to not know things anymore.
Making know-it-alls worse. That's
Making know-it-alls worse.
I got that on here. Yeah.
I just want to be confidently wrong about something and not have someone challenge me. I was having a conversation with your son the other day about whether Bulbasaur...
What is a woman?
Sure. I was having a conversation with your son about whether Bulbasaur was a turtle. Because Bulbasaur has the big leaf thing on his back. So it stands to reason that he's a turtle. And he got on me all day about Googling the fact that he was not a turtle.
Squirtle's a turtle.
I know Squirtle's a turtle. I thought Bulbasaur was also a turtle. He's not.
But
Because eventually I caved and I did look it up. I wanted to know what Bulbasaur was.
what is he?
He's a frog, which also makes sense.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was a thing I didn't need to know. I could have gone the long haul thinking that Bulbasaur was a turtle.
But now you do know.
And now I do know.
And if that ever came up at trivia, you are better for it.
You know what? Sure.
So celebrities, we don't need to know what you think. You have not lived a normal life. Most of you are Nepo babies. The rest of you have either come up from living a completely, not really sheltered, but like if you came up as a child star, you have a completely different experience than what most normal people have. And so that's gonna skew your view, and you don't I can go on a huge rant about this, but the short and sweet of it is you haven't experienced the same life as most people.
Yeah.
And so you get on the internet and you spew your words, and then you also have an agenda for it's very self-serving. Like you have this audience that you want to appease and that you want to appeal to in order to sell whatever your thing is. And so you're going to go at that hard, and it's very obvious, and the people that want to hear it are gonna you go girl, and the people that don't want to hear it are just tired of hearing it.
Yeah. I think that one of the grossest things about like a celebrity's presence on the internet is you can tell that so much of it is not even written by them.
Yes.
And there are plenty of people who aren't necessarily as like media savvy who probably wouldn't be able to see the difference. It's the same thing as like AI generated videos and stuff that they're getting, like the deep fakes and stuff are getting better and better and less different from reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's so gross and inauthentic that these people are just lending their name to someone else writing their tweet, which are affecting these people's fan bases.
Yes, because all this stuff is written on by staff. It's I highly, highly doubt that you're gonna have your Kim Kardashians, your just anyone that is Kim Kardashian isn't even as egregious as some of the other ones. Like Kim Kardashian she's honest about, hey, I'm just here to sell you shit.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get people like, what's his name? Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner is one of the most annoying people on Twitter, just on the internet in general.
Mm-hmm.
He's very outspoken, which fine, that's great. But then he wants to throw these hissy fits and say, "Oh, well, I'm leaving Twitter. Oh, I'm leaving the country. Oh, I'm doing this. I'm doing that." Does he do them? Does he do them? No.
I have not seen a single thing of Rob Reiner's on the internet.
No.
Like I've seen him in obviously movies and TV and stuff, but I know exactly zero things about his personal life.
Yeah, I mean, it's a trap that everyone falls into. You get your own echo chambers, especially on places like Twitter. But when there's some bleed over, it's like, good Lord. Like, I'm not afraid to unfollow people if I just feel like our ideas don't align anymore. Like, I'll take into consideration where they're coming from, and if they have some experience that I don't have, I'll look at it through that lens. But they sit here and just tell you that you're stupid because you don't think this thing that they think. And Rob Reiner's been one that's been in the scene, in the Hollywood scene for 50 years, 60 years. So there's no way he sees the world through the same lens as all these other people that he's calling stupid. And if the internet didn't exist, he would just be off making movies and cameoing on New Girl and all that kind of stuff. And maybe there would be an article every now and then coming out about dumb opinion that he has, but it wouldn't be as prevalent and it wouldn't be as annoying. And you could let it slide if it was once or twice, but just every cycle, there's something new. There's him complaining about something and calling half the country idiots.
You know, whenever I was younger watching like movies and TV and stuff, I thought that the people with like the sandwich boards that said like the end is nigh would be a lot more prevalent in society. In the same way that like I thought quicksand and TNT and stuff would. And those people are way less fun because it's just the people with nothing better to do with their time on the internet. Everyone is just convinced that the sky is falling for whatever reason.
Have you ever seen the sandwich board in Die Hard 2?
I have. It was also in an episode of Rick and Morty. Not phrased the same way.
No, that's the wussification of this country.
Again, we're not that kind of podcast. I know we have a Trump soundbite. I'm so happy we have that.
Me too. All right, so enough bitching about celebrities. Movies. I think movies are one of the top things that has been ruined by the internet.
I agree. I have 3 reasons that I came up with that movies have been ruined by the internet. We are incapable of keeping the endings to ourselves, and so things get spoiled just all of the time.
And I think that is very purposeful. Like, I think that you're like, I have this information.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to hear it? Oh, you don't? Oh, what are you gonna do if I tell you? Huh?
I want to know the thought process of like, what has to be going wrong in your life for you to be like, I really enjoyed this thing.
Let's ruin it for everybody else.
Let's ruin it for everybody else. What comic book guy nonsense is that?
You fell on your head as a child. Your mother didn't love you. You're just an ass.
I will say that it was sort of fun whenever there were like big Avengers movies that did not suck that would come out and people would be posting like memes and stuff of spoilers without context. I always really enjoyed those.
Yeah. And then you go back and you're like, oh, okay, that's what I meant. But no, now you'll just get straight up, it's ruined.
Mm-hmm.
And it's twofold. So leading up to the movie coming out, it's not as prevalent, but there are chances for you to have something spoiled for you. Like, oh, this person was filming in this movie and they're going to make a surprise appearance and all this other stuff. And so that can be ruined. And that's not really so much plot driven. So, I mean, if you know someone's going to appear in a movie, like it sucks that it got ruined before you saw it and you lost that element of surprise. But at the same time, the movie as a whole isn't necessarily ruined. But then when it comes out, you have to go see it like immediately
So that nothing else gets
so
ruined.
that nothing gets ruined and that you feel like you get your money's worth out of it.
So I feel like it has been long enough, and now it is on a streaming service. So if you haven't seen it, it's kind of on you. Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
I got like the big like cameo plot twist kind of thing ruined the day that it came out into theaters. So if you are not familiar and you still plan on seeing this movie at some point, maybe just turn down the volume for about 30 seconds. So Chris Evans is in it as who you think is Captain America. And it's like reference that he's Captain America a bunch of times. And then he does the flame on thing and he's actually Johnny Storm from the Fantastic Four.
Which was great.
It was a great thing that I think would have been a lot cooler if I didn't know that that was going to happen going in.
I didn't know that he was in it.
I also knew that Wesley Snipes, Jennifer Garner, and Channing Tatum were coming back as their old roles.
I knew about Wesley Snipes. I didn't know about the other ones.
And that was just a buzzkill. Like, it was such a cool thing to see, but I think it would have been a lot cooler if I didn't know ahead of time that, like, we just need to wait until this thing happens.
I mean, I don't want to spoil it. This is a relatively new movie, but we went and saw Wicked.
Yeah.
And we saw it 2 days after it dropped. And I had no idea that this cameo was going to be part of the movie. I hadn't heard anything about it.
I haven't seen the movie, but I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And so we saw it, and then we saw this cameo. We're like, oh, no way.
Mm-hmm.
So we were actually surprised by it. And then afterwards, when people started seeing it, when more people started seeing it, and we, like on TikTok and stuff, and people were referring to the surprise or the cameo.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't actually spoiling it. So I thought that was nice. And I still don't think that I've seen anyone on any kind of social media that's outright spoiled what the cameo is or what the surprise is.
I mean, you can cut this out if you want to, but are you talking about Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had no idea.
Saw it everywhere.
You did?
So Chenoweth posted a bunch of stuff on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, something, talking about giving Ariana like a matching Glenda jacket. And so they were like, oh my God, I loved when her and Idina and did all of this. And I was on Wicked TikTok for a second there. And a lot of people were talking about the cameos being like this magical moment. I'm not big invested in Wicked anyway, but it would have been really upsetting if I were a theater kid, like waiting to go to this movie.
I'm not either. I knew nothing. I knew the two songs because the children in this house.
It's Defying Gravity and what, The Wizard and I?
No.
Popular?
Which, I mean, it's cute when they sing them to a point. After the third go around, they're like, all right, let's move it on.
Man, Defying Gravity is a big belt song. That's a tough one to task a kid with.
Uh-huh. I mean, maybe for Christmas they need some vocal lessons if they're gonna keep attempting. But it wears on your brain after not a long time. But I think one of the reasons that it might not have been spoiled for me was because I shut out all marketing before the movie because Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were so insufferable during the marketing towards the end for the movie that I could not stand it anymore. And I knew that if I kept watching it that I would not want to see the movie.
So that's actually what happened to me. I saw so much of the god-awful press tour that they did and so much of like the conversation around it that it just kind of ruined me wanting to watch the movie.
Where they were always touching each other and sobbing.
And they got 15 matching tattoos? There's a lot of them.
Yeah, there's one where they got matching tattoo on opposite palms. That way, whenever they held hands, the tattoos would be touching.
Which there is nothing more indicative of a theater kid than all of the nonsense that's happened around the movie Wicked. That also circles back, though, to the celebrity thing, because there have been so many press tours recently that have just gotten a lot of heat because of how
Insufferable they are.
weird and insufferable all these celebrities are.
And they think that it's normal behavior.
Like the Wicked stuff was so annoying. The It Ends With Us stuff, like who at some point, who cares? You're here to promote a movie.
Yeah.
Can you pretend that you're at least here to talk about the movie?
Yeah. Like, we don't need Brown.
Blake Brown Beauty.
Yes, we don't need that.
And also, we don't need to rewatch an interview with Blake Lively from '06. Has anyone ever been in doubt that she's a mean girl? I don't think
so.
she's ever tried to be anything else.
I don't think so. And I think that when you watch, like when people pulled it up, it wasn't like, say, see, this is a pattern. It's just like, let's keep on digging.
Yeah.
Like everyone's jumping on her now. Let's dogpile.
The reporter that posted again, she was like, this is how she's always been. Like, sure, but it's also been 18 years. Maybe we don't need to rehash that. Like, I don't see what this is doing for you or for anyone.
Yeah. Another aspect of movies being ruined by the internet is just thinking about like classic movies that are now ruined because of like listicles, because of Watch Mojo type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Top 10 movie endings we didn't see coming. Stuff like that. Like thinking forward, like whenever the kids are old enough to watch The Sixth Sense and not have that
Plot twist ruined.
realization, that because they'll already know, because it's so ingrained in pop culture because of the internet. It won't be a surprise, and it won't be as impactful of a movie as it could have been if they didn't have that already spoiled for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, that goes for any of M. Night Shyamalan's movies, up to and including M. Night Shyamalan presents Avatar: The Last Airbender.
You know, it has been a couple episodes since I brought up M. Night Shyamalan presents Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Which I think the twist for that one was it's just awful.
I mean, most of his stuff is. Are we surprised that
It's watchable awful though. Like
no, it is not. You haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it. I've seen Old. I've seen Trap. Have you seen Trap yet?
Old was stupid, and yes, I did watch Trap. I actually enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
The next thing that I had for movies and why movies are ruined now was streaming services.
Mm-hmm.
I miss having like 50 options at Blockbuster or like Hollywood Video. Now it is just a chore to find something to watch.
You end up giving up and just watching something that you have seen 1,000 times.
Mm-hmm. I could not tell you how many times I've rewatched the same like 5 sitcoms because I just do not feel like scrolling through all of the streaming services I have and all of the TV and movies on those streaming services.
Yeah. Like I get excited when I get a recommendation from somebody to watch something because then it's already picked for me.
Yeah.
But if I'm just sitting there, hey, these are movies you may like, and I go through 50 options, like, I can always find a reason to not watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not in the mood for this one. This one takes too much concentration. You end up just sitting there and rewatching Family Guy or The Simpsons.
Yeah. On a side note to that, I also think that the internet has ruined wanting to watch new things. Because if it gets to a certain level of popularity, I am just exhausted with the conversation. I don't want to watch the source material.
Like what?
So this one's not particular to me, but like Breaking Bad. A lot of people did not watch Breaking Bad because it was just talked about so much. And it was talked about as this like incredible moment in culture and TV. And it was just this thing that you absolutely had to watch. It was the greatest show ever made kind of thing. And when you talk so hyperbolically and you hear that message so many times, like the thing itself will just never live up to that. It happened with Nate and the boys. I tried to get him to watch the show for a long time, and I was the problem in that situation because I was hyping it up more than it needed. And then whenever he watched it, he was just kind of like, not necessarily disappointed, but I think that there was some kind of expectation that was set because of the way that I was talking about it, that it just was never going to be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 seasons were real good.
The boys are Breaking Bad.
The boys. Breaking Bad, I think, was good all the way through. It is a lot to take on. I've been wanting to restart it. I've talked to Emily about restarting it because she's obviously never seen it, but I think that she would tap out pretty early.
I don't think that's her cup of tea.
No. And it's weird because I was just in Albuquerque
Mhm.
and there's still Breaking Bad everything everywhere.
Yeah.
Like even their billboards, their digital billboards, which have PSAs, little insider baseball. If ad space isn't sold, then they just do like a PSA of something. It's usually for like one of those pass it on campaigns or DUI stuff or anything like that. This one was about litter, and it's just Bryan Cranston's Heisenberg face, and it says "Keep litter out of my territory."
So weird.
Yeah, it's a weird crossover, but they're everywhere, and and Breaking Bad still holds a huge stranglehold on all of Albuquerque. That and Better Call Saul.
I need to go back and rewatch or finish Better Call Saul.
In my opinion, Better Call Saul is better than Breaking Bad.
I really liked the part of it that I watched. I think I made it like a season and a half in before I stopped. I got properly distracted by another show. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, when it comes to those like pass it on posters,
Mm-hmm.
there's one of them that annoys the hell out of me. It's in like all over DFW, and it's a like blind person, and it says "Vision, pass it on," which
Aye.
feels like someone should have thought maybe that's not.
Who's the person on it?
I don't remember. I'm not going to look it up because that is the whole point of this episode. But next time you're out, if you see one of those like pass it on things, that's not the Dolly Parton one, because the only ones I see at this point are the Vision one and Dolly Parton.
There's an old one with Garth Brooks on it.
Is it actually Garth Brooks or is it Chris Gaines?
No, it's actually Garth Brooks. I have only seen in one location on the way to San Antonio. So if you're ever traveling south to San Antonio, you should see if you can spot it. And if you do, give me the general location, and I'll give you a coupon to the merch store that doesn't exist yet, but will.
I want weird merch. I don't know what specifically I want, but I don't want like t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff.
Like earmuffs,
Like how
sweatbands,
Yes, absolutely.
leg
I'd be down
warmers.
for that. Okay.
cash exchange,
maybe
leg warmers.
maybe we can step away from the sweat into the oldies section, but
Cash exchange, lingerie.
I have questions and I want no answers to them.
Okay, what are your questions? I won't answer them.
Nope, never mind. No questions. I don't want to speak them into existence, but
Pasties with our face on them.
all right, so I'm getting answers anyway. You know what? I'd be down for that.
What else?
It's insane, but
I mean, the options are limitless.
I was thinking more along the lines of like the Y-Files has like the plushies and Go Hecklefish and all of that kind of stuff.
Oh, I have a heckle. Have you seen my hecklefish?
I haven't seen him, no, because he was still on back order or something whenever you got the actual gift.
Oh yeah, he's. I'll pull him out before we leave.
Yeah. Anyway, another thing that do you still have stuff about movies?
I have one thing about movies, but I'm saving that towards the end, where I give a counter argument for the internet ruining everything. So, proceed.
Okay. In that case, shopping. The internet has ruined shopping.
Yeah, that didn't even make my list.
And on the same plane, it has ruined patience.
Yes. Have to
Because-
get everything today.
Yeah.
Or have someone drive to my house at 5 in the morning to drop it off. That way I make sure that it's there when I wake up.
I am so bad about this. I'm working on it, but I have a bad habit of like the pipeline of like, I could use this thing to I need this thing to I'm going to buy this thing as long as it'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's so short. It's ridiculous. I spend so much money on things I do not need.
One of the worst things I do is I will need something. I'd like to get it here soon.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me the option to get it here tomorrow by 10 o'clock, 10 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, this is 2024. We're almost in 2025. That just won't do. That is not okay. What am I, some sort of peasant? So what I do is I don't know, it's like $12. Well, if it's 25, you can get it same day. Okay, well, looks like I got to find 12 more dollars to spend or 13 more dollars to spend to get it here today because I need this thing. I can't use it until tomorrow, but I want to make sure that I have it in my hands. What if something happens? What if there's another supply chain disruption and I can't get this thing until 2 days from now? God forbid. And so I end up spending, the limit is 25. You get 25 and then, hey, and then you end up putting $30 in and they're saying, yeah, but only 17 of this is part of that 25. Like, damn it, but I need that other thing. Okay. And so I end up with a $70 basket just so I can get this stuff here today. I do that all the time.
On the same plane of that, I have a also terrible habit of like, you have two options. You can get it here from 2 to 10 p.m. today, or you can get it between 5 and 11 a.m., which is fine. That timeline doesn't make any sense because it would not be a problem if I were to get something from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. But every single time, without fail, I will opt for the 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. But all of the packages in my apartment go through a package locker that is only accessed whenever the leasing office is open, and it does not open until 10:30. So I'm really just like crossing my fingers that they can make it into my building.
That it gets there in that window from 10:30 to 11.
It is the dumbest possible logic, and it works out for me most of the time. Sometimes I get phone calls from the Amazon drivers at 6 in the morning, and I'm not going to answer them. It's 6 in the morning.
That is something you need to work on.
The internet has ruined me. I have ruined me.
You
I guess,
want
in
it
that
here,
situation.
but you can't be bothered to go downstairs to retrieve it from this poor Amazon worker that just wants to get on with his day.
Yeah.
And instead he's calling your ass, waking you up, and you can't be bothered to even talk to him.
I'm a monster. I'm sorry, everyone.
Oh, man.
So usually...
You're the reason they're all going on strike.
Are they going on strike?
I think it's something about an impending strike,
That-
which I don't think that they're union. I don't think most of them are union. I think there's a couple, but I don't know what a strike would look like for non-union. They're just going to fire you.
That would honestly be so great for my bank account on a just real selfish level.
You would hate it.
I would learn to deal with things.
Oh, you wouldn't.
I would.
No, you wouldn't. You'd be picking at scabs that aren't there. You'd be tweaking hard. But I'm prime, damn it.
I'm an optimist. I think it'd be okay.
Okay, well, let's put you on an island. Let's put you somewhere out of a major city center where the only
Where there
option
is
you
no
have
crime.
is 2-day shipping. Let's see how well you last there.
I do think about it still pretty regularly that I'd like to have a flip phone because there are a lot of things that like I shouldn't have access to, and I am convinced that if I didn't have access to them, that I would just be better. I would just be more of a person, I think. Like if I didn't have access to Amazon and I had to just like be more creative with the things that I already had instead of getting something that's a little bit different from the thing I already own, I think my life would be better.
I don't know. We still gotta have that experiment. But so far we haven't made a dime off this podcast, so
Not yet, but we're getting there.
we're getting there. We're like, subscribe, share, listen. Listen 7 times. Listen 9 times. Put us on in the background just throughout the day.
Let us be one of the things that makes the internet better.
Yeah.
That's all we're striving for.
Yeah. Let us help you by building a better internet for your children and your children's children. We want to be the UNICEF of podcasts. UNICEF still exists.
Sure. I don't think they give out the little Halloween collection boxes anymore, but I do believe that UNICEF is still a thing.
Well, hey, maybe that can be our thing. Maybe we'll give out Halloween boxes with every order of this non-existent merch shop.
I love that for us.
I don't really have too much to say because I think all of it's already been said, but one of the things that has been ruined by the interwebs is dating.
That was on my list too.
Grindr, Tinder. There's not a specific reason I mentioned Grindr first.
I beg to differ. That was a Freudian slip.
I went alphabetically. That's my story.
Bumble?
Sticking to it. Bumble.
So you didn't go alphabetically. You chose Grindr.
No, I didn't mention Bumble.
Sure.
Bumble, I think, is, out of all of them, I think that one is the least skeezy.
I agree.
Grindr, you know what you're looking for on Grindr. Tinder, you know what you're looking for on Tinder. It's the straight version of Grindr.
I was on dating apps for a very, very brief window, and I would never go back to them because the short time that I spent on them just made me feel so gross, so consistently. Like, people would reach out with just out-of-pocket nonsense, which is not a thing I want to invite into my life.
Well, yeah, that's the female side of it. I mean, I was on the male side of it. I didn't throw out anything gross or really. It's all such a numbers game.
The best case scenario, I think, whenever I was on the dating apps was just like cheesy one-liners, in which case, like, I really don't have a good thing to say back to that. It's a better thing than some of the other messages I got that were probably more straightforward, but
Wieners.
something along those lines, yeah. Sure.
Bumble. I've been pretty successful on Bumble.
Really?
Uh-huh.
I thought it was Tinder.
Nope, that's Bumble. That's where I met the missus.
Sometimes
Because-
internet dating works.
Because it put the ball in the woman's court. And it takes a lot of the stress off the dude. But then the women can just be like, "Hey."
Sure.
And, yeah, but if a guy were to do that on Tinder, you'd get no response.
I beg to differ. They were more likely to get a response than the
With just a hey? Did you ever meet anyone? from
a
them?
couple of them.
Yeah.
I got mild Patrick Bateman vibes from one of them.
Makes sense.
Which, yeah, it tracks for a lot of the people that are on Tinder.
The only thing I had on dating was my only, I guess, subtopic was Thank You Next, the Ariana Grande song.
Oh, yeah.
Just because I feel like that's all internet dating is.
All right, what else you got?
Events. Events are always spoiled. I think most prevalent in my life because I have an inordinate amount of Swifties in my household
Sure.
that any changes on the Eras tour is hot news. It's big time. And we went to the Eras tour May? I don't know, 2 years ago. It was like her fourth or fifth show. And so there was stuff out there that could have spoiled the experience, but not nearly as much as there is now. And then Swifties on their own have to look into every single detail, and they have their boards up in their room, and they're trying to trace everything with red yarn to see where it all connects and all that as it is. So I mean, if we had gone later into the run, then I think it would not have been a great experience. Which, if you haven't, I mean, it's too late now, but you definitely saw like one of the greatest performances ever if you saw the Eras tour in person.
Yeah.
It is bananas.
I I agree with events as a thing that the internet ruined, but I would disagree specifically on the Eras tour.
Why?
So I'm not really a Swiftie, but I do see a lot of like Taylor Swift things on the internet. And I think it was so cool to see all of these people that were doing the Eras tour as this like big cultural event kind of thing. So people that were making like the friendship bracelets and were making the little like flashlight cover things. And the people that were making like custom outfits and stuff because they were so excited to be able to go to the Eras tour on theme.
Yeah.
I think that was a really cool thing to watch. I didn't go to the Eras tour and had no intention of participating in any of that stuff, but I think it was cool.
We were on the flow.
Yeah.
And it was perfect because we were on the floor in the very back row. And so we could just get up and go to the bathroom. You have never seen a men's room more empty than at the Eras tour.
It wasn't even just like women sneaking into that one because the line was so long.
They had security guards
Really?
for the bathrooms.
Oh.
I don't know why.
Huh.
But the women's line was 50, 60 people deep. And I'm just bopping my way to the men's bathroom, go in, take care of my business, come out, and I'm back before the song's over. But it was definitely one of the best, not even just concert, because it's like an entire experience. One of the best that I've ever been a part of. And got to see Ethan Hawke and Maya Hawke.
Yeah.
Selena Gomez's little sister. Selena Gomez's little sister is the one that got that hat. So, yeah.
Got the hat?
Yeah, what song is it? I don't know what song it is. I'm going to get my ass kicked later whenever this is listened to, and I can't remember the song, but she has a hat that she gave away at every show, and she'd always give it to someone special, and so this one was Selena's little sister.
I watched Trap, so I'm going to assume it's that kind of thing. There was like a special song at the end that she does that needs a participant.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, something like that. Except as far as I know, Selena Gomez's little sister's dad isn't a serial killer.
Do we know that for a fact?
We don't. But congratulations to Selena for becoming engaged to that.
To Benny Blanco.
Ugh, good Lord, she could.
On the Benny Blanco note, there is a weird thing that I saw on the internet the other day, and I hate feet. It feels important for me to preface that. Benny Blanco has the weirdest toenails I've ever seen, and not in a like they're just gross, but like he gets pedicures regularly, and they're bizarre.
Huh.
So like he did carpets. He did best made pickles. He did a whole line of fruit.
I'm not his
I don't know who he is outside of Selena Gomez.
music producer.
Oh.
But yeah, he stole my girl.
Oh, that's why you don't like him?
Yeah.
Sure.
Speaking of music producer, though, music is another thing that's been ruined by the internet. Albums, no one listens to a full album anymore. Every song that is put out is made to be a single and stay a single. Like, I don't even know why artists bother putting out full albums anymore. Because, like, there used to be a time where if you liked a song, the only way you could get it was you had to go buy the CD, buy the cassette, buy the whatever. And then you'd be stuck with, like, say you wanted 2 songs on it, but you'd be stuck with the other 8. And so you'd listen to those 2, but then you'd start listening to those other ones, and then you'd get a bigger picture of who this artist is, and then you would have this bigger catalog of music and more of a diverse understanding, because you're not just focusing on these 2 songs that are just singles because they're going to get good radio play.
Yeah.
And like hidden tracks, that's all gone. Even now, if you go back to, say you have a CD from I don't know, early 2000s, there's a chance that at the end of a song, there was like a bonus track.
Hmm.
It wouldn't register as its own song. So the only way you'd be able to have that is by knowing that by having the CD and being able to play it through that first song and then listen to the second song.
Yeah.
So that's all gone because of the way people listen to music now. And I love listening to music. I love listening to full albums, but I know that I'm in the minority on that.
I've been trying to get back into listening to the whole album because I was getting so frustrated with Spotify
Mm-hmm.
because I would be listening to something and like inevitably I felt like my settings kept changing, and so it would just like do the AI generated playlist of whatever it thought that would fit with the song that I was listening to.
Yep.
And so I would just be listening to things that were probably in the same ballpark as the song I actually wanted to listen to, or the album or the artist or whatever.
Mhm.
And it would just take such a detour so fast to stuff that I always felt was just kind of like the flavor of the week, not something that was actually recommended for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be like I had never listened to Sabrina Carpenter before, but it would just throw just 15 Sabrina Carpenter songs because they were popular.
Yeah.
Not because it was something that I would necessarily enjoy, but just this is the thing that's going around right now, so you're going to listen to it.
Yeah, which ends up just pushing out the same stuff, and then you just get into a cycle of just all the same stuff being regurgitated over and over again versus having new things to experience, like being able to expand your knowledge. All right, you ready to do some speed rounds?
Sure. What do you got?
Okay. TV, series finales, season finales, all that stuff. If you don't watch them day of, then you run the risk of it being spoiled, especially for a series, especially for a series finale. This show that you have invested so much time in,
Mm-hmm.
and then for it to just be spoiled because some asshat posts about it and you happen to see it.
I found out who won Game of Thrones, or like who ended up. I don't really know how Game of Thrones works, but I figured out the finale the night that it aired.
Yeah.
Which was so dumb. If I had been a Game of Thrones person, it would have pissed me off so much.
It pissed me off. I
Yeah.
watched it live. I hated it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that whole season was a train wreck. So it's not really surprising the route it took. But yeah, just such a slap in the face to all these people that invested so much time and energy in this show.
I didn't even mean the actual ending. I meant like the fact that I knew about the ending without watching the show. Like day of or day after or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it was just ridiculous that was something that a lot of people had invested 8 seasons into, somewhat begrudgingly from everything I've heard about the 8th season, but
yeah, awful. If there was a way that you could watch like the first 6 seasons and then just sit down with a pen and paper and just write out how you think it ends, you could do a way better job than how it actually played out on TV. Sports. I can't tell you how many times I've been watching something and then I get a notification on my phone saying, game's over, this was a score.
Oh, lame.
Yeah, and so I know that if I'm watching a game that I'm really invested in, to just put my phone away, which, I mean, has been good because then I'm actually focusing on what I'm doing and actually enjoying it versus just trying to move on to the next thing. But there's been countless times where that's happened to me, where I've had the whole thing ruined because of a notification or because of something along those lines, like an injury report, whenever I was playing fantasy, a fantasy alert, or just a notification saying, "Hey, this is the end of the game. This was the score." And then you got issues with trades and all this stuff and all these rumors going around about what athletes going where. And then this all rolls back into the whole celebrity aspect from the beginning. The athletes that think that because they throw a ball good, that we care about any other aspect of their lives or their opinion on anything else. And some of them do come out and make a stand or make a show that they are more than just an athlete, that they are able to think critically about certain issues and then are able to guide policies and stuff like that. But for the most part, you throw or you run or you jump, and then once that is over, just go off and enjoy all that money you made by running, throwing, and jumping, and just pop in every now and then to say, "Hey, I'm still here," and then move on with your life.
I'm not big into sports, so I don't see any of that side of the internet.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I could see how all of that would be a really frustrating thing to be around.
And then there's stuff like TikTok that perpetuates stereotypes, perpetuates certain kinds of isms, sexisms, racisms, ageisms.
Yeah.
But it's all literally anyone has a platform to spew whatever they want, most of the times without repercussions. But then these people get into certain echo chambers, and then it's just one person saying this stupid thing, another person saying, "Yeah, I agree with that stupid thing," another person saying, "Yeah, I agree with those two stupid things," and then it's just a big mishmash of these just dumb, stupid people that have a voice just because they have numbers.
Yeah.
They don't actually have anything intelligent to say. They just have all these people that say, "Yeah, I'm just as dumb as that guy, so we must be onto something here." And that's another thing that came from the internet, because these people would not run into each other in real life. These people wouldn't form. Well, I guess "wouldn't" is a strong word to use, but most likely wouldn't have as much access to other people who have the same stupid opinions as they do. But the internet creates a community.
It's an echo chamber of nonsense.
Yes. And now, to bring it all around, what has the internet made better? What has the internet helped improve? And yeah, I mean, you can give me all the, well, the internet has made medical records easier to find, and I would point you back to our Gypsy Rose episode.
I would never go with that one.
You could say, well, the internet has helped create communities, and I would refer you back to 30 seconds ago. Well, the internet has whatever.
I think that the communities is kind of a double-edged sword. There are people that are emboldened to do just ridiculous things. The most recent one that's come out of all of the political stuff that's happening was the "Your Body, My Choice," the discussions that were happening.
Oh, man.
And that created this community that is just the worst human beings I think you'll ever meet. And it's sickening, genuinely, that there are people that would ever think that is an okay thing to say out loud. And it's because they're not saying it out loud. You're allowed to be as stupid and wrong as you want on the internet. But I do think, generally speaking, that community is an incredible thing that the internet has given us.
Whether you type it or whether you say it, it's still
Wrong.
There's not a more appropriate use for the Donald Trump soundbite right now. But anyway, if you think of like our dad, like he gets to talk to all of his family members whenever he wants to, but they're spread out across the world.
Yep.
Realistically, without the internet, it would have been snail mail. And those people travel, like a lot of our family members travel country to country pretty frequently.
Yeah.
And so being able to like know what's happening with them, stay in contact with them is kind of incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that aspect of it, that I guess communication for the right reasons or community for the right reasons, but I think it's a very slippery slope to fall into the more nefarious communities, or just people that feel like they need a community, and they end up falling into one that doesn't have their best interest at heart, doesn't have a healthy outlook on everything, on life, and therefore ends up being detrimental and ends up alienating them more from real people in their lives than it would have if they hadn't tried to pursue the community that they ended up finding.
I don't want to negate the thing that I just said about community, because I do think it is one of the good things that's come out of the internet. But that is also the specific thought process that happens before a person joins a cult.
Yeah.
I still stand behind my take on this, that it is a good thing that communities are made. And yes, there are some awful ones that have been made, but
I think it can be. It can be good, but it has to, everyone involved has to have good intentions. And I think that finding that is becoming more and more rare, where there's not one bad apple that is going to spoil the bunch. Where, because all it takes is the suggestion from one person, and then that seed starts to grow. And then all of a sudden, you have this whole group of nasty people.
it's hard to not or to find something that's just like an unadulterated good thing when it comes to the internet. But I think that accountability is also one of the good things that's come out of it. Not universally, just like community is not a universal thing. But I think that holding people accountable, the internet conversation is something that can cause actual action. In a lot of cases, it's really impressive that people banding together to stop a terrible thing can actually stop a terrible thing.
Yep.
There were a lot of TikTokers who have platforms for their kids, which I am wholeheartedly against.
Yeah, no, that's gross.
Your children are unable to consent to the things that you're having them do, and you are aware of the things that are happening around them.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not stupid. You're playing the algorithm perfectly, and you are kind of a monster. In a lot of those cases, like there have been actual TikTokers and stuff that have been arrested and had CPS called on them, and stuff has actually happened for the better because of it, because they were doing shady things and weren't able to have that plausible deniability of like, I don't know what people are saying about my 3-year-old.
And then you also get situations where Peanut the squirrel gets murked by the state because of busybodies. And the original story was that it was a woman from Texas that is the one that got herself involved in this thing in New York State.
Mm-hmm.
I think that turned out to not be true. Either way, Peanut the squirrel's still dead, and he wasn't doing anything.
Yeah. I have one more question. What is something that you believe the internet killed that you'd like to bring back?
I think it killed.
So while you're thinking, I did have an example that was just like kind of the through line in all of the stuff I was looking for this episode. And it's shame. I desperately wish that we could just bring back shame to people.
That would be fantastic.
It is absurd to me, the things that people are willing to put online. And I'm talking about you talking shit about your partner, ex-partner, your parents, your siblings, whatever.
Your children.
On the internet, you crying on camera, because who is that for? It's not for you. You don't feel better because you posted yourself sobbing.
No, it's you hoping that you can get enough people to say, oh, I hope you're okay. I hope everything's all right.
Like you're fishing, and it's desperate and gross.
It is.
And the people that just like spend all of their time on social media being like, hey, look at me and how great my life is. If it was, you wouldn't be posting about it all of the time. You wouldn't need validation from other people that you have a great life.
Mm-mm.
You could just have that great life.
You wouldn't need that from other people in order to feel better about yourself.
Right. I want to bring back shame. I'm tired of it.
I want to bring back anonymity.
Do we not have anonymity because of the internet?
I don't think so.
Really?
I mean, I think that going to, say, you're going on a date.
Okay.
And people can look up your entire life beforehand, before you even get to establish who you are at now with this person. They already have this preconceived notion of who they think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying like, hey, if he's a murderer, but I don't want them to know that. So I'm just not going to tell her about that part. And the internet's not around to let her know that I'm a murderer. But I'm just saying in general, I think that it takes away, it forces people to have a preconceived notion about you.
Yeah.
And then it causes them to scrutinize how you say, or what you do against that light. Versus if you were a blank slate, then you would be able to say, hey, this was me before, but this is me now.
That's fair. I was listening to a TED Talk, I think, recently, and it was talking about like how you present yourself to the world. And one of the things that she was saying was that if you were trying to do like an online dating thing, this is what you would do to attract these specific kind of people that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is so manufactured, and it's something that we've just come to expect for just everything in our lives.
Yeah.
And so that like, if we are trying to make genuine connections, then it feels like it's necessary for us to look up the other person because what they have is not, or what they have posted or whatever is not indicative of the person that they are, but the things that they can't change about themselves, for some reason, the addresses that are public and
yeah,
all of the the historical stuff that you would rather not show up when you Googled someone is just like front and center. I would also like to bring authenticity back, honesty.
Yeah, I mean, I think that even without the internet, that would have been out the window. Just with which you might be able to make the argument that the internet is the reason that we are the way we are, but I think that people feel isolated, and so in order for people to not feel isolated, they have to join these pre-built communities. These pre-built communities feel like they have to have a purpose. That purpose is whatever is going to be the loudest and get them the most attention. And whatever's the loudest and gets the most attention is the one that's going to be most against the grain, which is going to cause these people to all develop this need to be so against the grain and so obtuse in thinking that they feel like that would give them the loudest voice, that would make them feel the most heard, that would make them feel like they are the most important. And then once they get that, they have to keep feeding into that in order to get that same feeling and feel like this community is giving them everything they need, even though deep down they know they don't need that, and they know that it's not doing anything for them because they're not being authentic to themselves. They're being authentic to this community who is trying to be authentic to each other, and they're just circle jerking it all around until just someone finally decides, hey, y'all are stupid, and starts breaking away, and then that community separates. But then all these people go and find these new communities, find these new causes that are just as stupid, and do the same thing.
There was a conversation that I was having with a coworker pretty recently, and we were talking about Charlie Kirk and Steven Crowder. And
the Change My Mind guy.
Yes, the Change My Mind guy. And we were talking about how the conversation surrounding those was so different, because this man is the coworker I was having a conversation with was like 50. And so his perspective on it was like, these men are just showing these young, stupid kids what the real world is like. It's like, if you're optimistically 40 and you're yelling at 18-year-olds for not being worldly, you've already got some kind of like baked in problem. Something's wrong in your brain. Like 18 is when you're supposed to be figuring out everything. Like, they're probably wrong about some things, but your whole platform is just being the loudest voice in the room. And your whole community is built on being the loudest voices in the room. You're not right.
But I think that's the same for both sides. I think that the 18-year-olds, too, think that they're the smartest people in the room.
Every 18-year-old has always thought they were the smartest person in the room.
But now, thanks to what I like to call the Haktua effect, the loudest, the most boisterous ones are the ones that have the biggest chance of being able to catapult themselves out of their mundane lives into some sort of internet clout.
Yeah.
And being able to profit off that. So they want to have these opinions that they want to scream science at you until it doesn't fit anymore.
Yeah. Just
as long as they can scream something at you.
But the point of those videos is never to inform anyone about anything. Like the whole, to be fair, I haven't watched a lot of Steven Crowder or a lot of Charlie Kirk, but a lot of it is just, if I scream my point, it is somehow more valid than if I'm just telling you that you're wrong for this.
I think, well, one, you need to recognize that what gets posted by Charlie Kirk or Steven Crowder is all what they want you to see. It's them curating for their audience what is going to be most beneficial and profitable for them.
Right.
So they're going to give you the ones where the kids are just stupid.
Yeah.
and just have stupid opinions and have nothing to back up those opinions with.
Right.
And so those are the ones that you're going to be seeing. If you were to sit down and actually watch the thing in person, then I think that you would be surprised by how much there is actually an honest discourse between the two people.
Right.
But because of the internet and because of how profiting off that kind of stuff works, that's not the stuff that you are fed. That's not the stuff that is put in front of your face. It's the stuff that, well, you're stupid because of this. Well, actually, no, you're stupid because of this. Okay, so bring it all around to hopefully level the playing field out some.
Mm-hmm.
The two instances that hit home for me most of things that the internet helped was in, you know what happened on April 20th, 1999? 4/20/99.
Yeah.
What?
Columbine.
Was it?
Was it not?
Oh, I hope not, because this is going to take a completely different turn. I know it happened on a 4/20.
Yeah. Why do I know that?
I don't know. Okay, well,
Anyway.
do you know of another thing that happened on April 20th, 1999?
I do not.
The Saga Begins was recorded.
Oh.
The Weird Al parody of American Pie, based around the Phantom Menace. But now I don't even feel like I want to talk about it.
Sorry for being a real big buzzkill, guys.
Anyways, the only way Alfred Yankovic was able to record it was by reading spoilers on message boards of what the Phantom Menace would be, because the Phantom Menace didn't come out until May 19th of 1999. The album it was on, Running with Scissors, was released June 29th, 1999, but he had the song written in April and recorded and ready to go a month before the movie came out.
Oh, okay.
And it was because of internet spoilers that he was able to write it.
Interesting.
And loved by George Lucas and Don McLean, the guy who sang American Pie. His kids listened to it so much that sometimes it would trip him up when he was performing and
That's
singing
awesome.
American Pie.
Okay.
And then my last one, this one doesn't have as big of an effect on my life because I probably wasn't going to see it anyways, but the live action Snow White.
That's a good thing that happened because of the internet?
Well, they decided to...
Is this the one with like Rachel Ziegler?
Yes, that nightmare of a person.
I don't know anything about her, nor do I care to.
Oh, do a little shallow dive, see what happens.
No, thanks.
See what you find. So, they announced that they were doing this live action Snow White, and then Peter Dinklage came out, the famous thespian, known for playing Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones. Got the role because he's a dwarf, and the character is a dwarf. Came out and said that Snow White shouldn't be remade, and they shouldn't use dwarves as actors. They shouldn't give those seven jobs to dwarves because it's offensive. Even though this man made his entire career off of playing dwarves, got these jobs because he was a dwarf.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but his most prominent roles were because he was a dwarf, and it was a role meant for a dwarf.
Yeah.
Coming out and saying that dwarves should not have these jobs. It's offensive for you to cast dwarves in Snow White and the Seven Dwarves, and we need to move past this. This is 2025, 2020, I don't know, 2022 at this point. This movie has been in production off and on for like 3-4 years now. And so, other dwarf actors came out and said, it's real cute for Peter Dinklage to take all these dwarf roles and then shut the door behind him and say dwarves shouldn't have specific roles. Actors should be actors. It shouldn't matter if they're a dwarf or not. So you got Hornswoggle, who's from the WWE. He's a dwarf. He came out and he's like, "What the hell are you talking about, man?" And they got beef. They got teeny tiny little beef, and anyways, so this all exploded because of the internet, and so after that they decided to nix the dwarf idea, and they're gonna go with a DEI wet dream of not dwarves, but just people.
Okay.
Just 7 random people that live together, and the people they chose for this is just there's one still photo of this cast from when they were shooting these scenes, and it's just wild that this is the direction they decided to go in. And so the internet got all up in arms and said, hey, what the hell is this? You can't do this. And so then Disney had to course correct again and decided to make the 7 dwarves again, but then also make them into these Polar Express-esque Uncanny Valley nightmares.
I hate this.
Yeah. And every time anything about this movie has been put on YouTube or anything, or they've made any like official posts, it's been disliked into oblivion.
I sincerely hope that this is the thing that stops Disney from making live action reboots, because you know this thing was expensive as hell.
Oh, and it keeps racking up costs.
And it is going to bomb so hard. Because we're just tired of it. I think as a whole collective.
Like, before all this stuff happened, plus, I mean, you got all the crap with Rachel Zegler and her. It's worth looking into because she seems like a nightmare to be around. But, like, before, I might have, like, seen it out of curiosity, but now I have absolutely no interest in seeing any of it and just want to stop hearing about it.
Yeah.
But because of the internet, I can't, because it's still all over the place and will be until it's released or it's not released, and then Disney just decides to take the tax break from all the money they lost on it. And then real quick, one more thing saved by the internet is the terrifying original version of Sonic.
I believe that was fake.
You think it was marketing?
I believe that it was absolutely marketing.
Well,
because
it's
if you
marketing.
Absolutely. I think that they knew that if they made something, because of who their target demographic was, which was all the people that are chronically online, if they made a design that was so just offensively stupid, that the internet would come after them,
Just
and then they would
scary
look
for children.
Yeah, and they would look like the good guys because they went back to the drawing board and did the thing that everyone wanted. They listened to their fans, when really no person in their right mind would have greenlit that dumb-ass Sonic.
Like actual teeth and ugh.
Do you think people are going to watch that movie?
I wouldn't have.
He had too many human features.
But that on top of being able to get Jim Carrey, who has said that he's retired, but the only thing that he keeps coming back for is these Sonic sequels.
Well, he said that he came back this time because he was broke.
What?
He said that he needed the money.
I didn't hear that.
For the third one, yeah.
Huh. Someone asked him what role he'd be willing to, or he's always wanted to revisit. Guess which one it was? The Grinch.
The CIA torture training film?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Huh.
They said that there's so many advances now in CG and all this stuff. But I think that one of the things that makes the Grinch like such a great movie is because of the practical makeup and everything, not making everything CG.
I miss so much whenever things were practically done. Like
Mhm.
the Jurassic Park movies versus Jurassic World.
Yeah.
I hate those films. And it's not just because I hate Chris Pratt. I do hate Chris Pratt, but the CG dinosaurs versus like the actual practical things they did in the original Jurassic Parks are just so starkly different.
Yeah.
One last good thing that I had that came from the internet: learning. Learning has become so much easier because of the internet.
That's true. That's true. I got my degree because of the internet.
Yeah. I taught myself ukulele and I'm teaching myself guitar because of the internet. Because I wouldn't have the resources that I'm using right now otherwise.
Yeah. So then what's the final verdict? Has the internet ruined everything? Have we ruined ourselves because of the internet and the internet really had nothing to do with it? Or is it somewhere in the middle?
I think because of just how all encompassing the internet is, you can't say that it's good or bad. There's
That's fair.
way too much nuance to put it in a box like that. So I'd have to say that it's in the middle, but it leans more on the worst side of things than the better side of things. I think it's ruined a lot more than it's helped.
Do you think we'd be better off without it?
I don't think there's an option to be without it now, so I don't know that I would think of that as like an actual choice.
Yeah.
Because so much of I couldn't tell you the last time that I went a day without my phone or some kind of internet connected device.
Me either.
Whenever I go on vacation, I try to be as present as possible. And so I'll try to not have my phone or whatever. But even still, like I'm realistically going to have it hooked up to my car for music, or I'm going to take a picture every once in a while.
Mine feeds my fish when I'm out of town.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So the only reason the internet ruined anything is because humans ruin everything they touch.
I wholeheartedly beg to differ on that one. I don't think we ruin everything.
What have we not ruined? What has unequivocally been not ruined because humans have gotten their grubby little hands all over it?
Also an impossible question. Humans shape everything that we are and everything that we do. You can't say that it's all good or all bad because everything has nuance. But there is enough good to say that we don't ruin everything. I wouldn't want to be living on this planet if I thought that humans ruined everything. It's a level of pessimism that I don't think I'd ever want to combat.
Grand Canyon. We didn't have anything to do with that, but we ruined it.
Did we? How?
By creating trails for donkeys to go down so fat tourists can go down into the canyon. And
Sure. But also the National Park Service has protected that land so that we can't do anything. There are people who are protecting that space so that people for generations will be able to see it and enjoy the most majestic thing I've seen in my entire life.
counterpoint, if you look up pockets where people disappear the most, it's state parks.
Sure.
What are they hiding?
If you have big open spaces where it's really easy to put distance between yourself and every other human being on the planet, sure, more people are going to die
You
there.
sound like you got something you're hiding.
This isn't a true crime podcast, but I have a feeling that's going to be your spinoff.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are things that human intervention has not completely ruined. None come to mind. But for all those out there listening, I think that the internet is a double-edged sword. I think that a lot of good things have come from it. A lot of bad things have come from it. I think that go one way or the other depending on how you use it.
Absolutely.
Just like any other kind of tool. You can use a hammer to build a house. You can use a hammer to bludgeon somebody. So I mean, it's all how you use it. So I think.
What if we're both murderers?
What if? So I think if there's anything to take away from this episode today, I would say use the tools at your disposal to leave the world a better place than when you found it.
Mic drop.
Alrighty. Well, it's been real. It's been fun. Hadn't been real fun. We'll catch you next time.
Stay on the good side of the internet.
Wise words.